It's necessary. But what's really needed is to be able to produce it on the 21st. And so you can see down there we got like a little green clock. So it's got 3 of them. So it's an ongoing class, a countdown to the 21st, because I kind of challenged our guys and said, until then, all of us included in the program is fraudulent. And we've got to be able to not be that. And so the only way you do that is to work the right way and to prep, but then on the night of the show, you got to perform. And so that is the challenge. Is like, we've had a really good 2 weeks. Can it carry over to having a really good game? And that doesn't mean I'm not saying we need to blow a team out. Right. That's not the point. It's just, it has to look a certain way based off how we practice, because we do practice pretty good.
What's that way? If you could wave your magic wand, what is the certain way you want to see from your team then?
In terms of, way, it's just, there's a look to it, right? Like how offense is initiated, the cuts, the spacing, the pace, the ball movement, how passes are snapped. Are we screening anybody? Is there intent to screen? Is there a push in transition? Like, it just has to feel and look a certain way. Defensively, playing with force, what's our stance look like? Are there breakdowns? Is there physicality within plays? Is there ball pressure? Are we up in our ball screen coverage? Are our rotations tight? Are we ending possessions with a box out and a rebound? So it's not necessarily one thing. It's just there's a look and a feel to it. You can tell if a team is playing with force or not on both sides of the ball. We need to play with force, and again, it's got to show that on tape. And so again, we've touched on that. We talked about it. We showed it, and they know. And we also showed the good, the good plays we've made. There's a clear distinction in how it looks. Right. Like when we did the right stuff at Indiana, which was a decent amount of time, it looked a certain way. And so we showed them all the plays. That's what has looked like all the time, not just a little bit, but all the time. And then you show them when it looks like that and we do our job, we're successful. We're not a team that can just kind of abort what we do and go on our own and have it work out. And so, drilling that behind us, everybody has to do their job. We don't have a lot of room for error. But guess what? When we do, it's effective.
Where are you in the accountability piece of it when obviously the coaches are going to be talking about it all the time, but at some point you need the players either individually or me to you as a teammate to say, you got to be there, or I need you to be there. You got to get that box out. We talked about kind of the chemistry a week ago with a bunch of new guys going through something for the first time. Where do you feel like you are in terms of the group being able to police themselves a little bit? Because as much as you want to do it all the time, you've got other stuff going on too, right? During the game, assistants, same bit. So where do you feel like you are in that process?
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason why, after the Indiana game, I did kind of call out the returners for that sole purpose. I could do it till I'm blue in the face. Assistants can do it till they're blue in the face. I feel like if that happens, you're only going to win and be successful to a certain level. At some point, the locker room has to take over, and there's got to be that ownership. And so, when we scrimmaged, we did stuff like that where it was like, all right, we're dividing up certain teams, and I want certain people on certain teams to figure out how to impact winning. And it's not necessarily about you getting 15 in that scrimmage. If you get 15 and your team still lose, that's a problem, right? And so we talked about that. We talked about there's certain guys that need to mesh better. And there's not a blueprint. There's not an instruction manual of how that has to happen. You guys have to take ownership and figure that out within a scrimmage. Figure out, okay, what needs to be done in this segment for my team to win? It could be player A scoring. It could be player A making teammate B and C better by creating off the bounce or delivering passes on time on target or creating an intensity defensively that everybody else follows. We have to do that. And I think that's the biggest key is guys getting comfortable, but also understanding, all right, what can I do to impact winning? What does that look like? And again, they got to figure that on their own. We can get them structure and all that and tell them, but they have to get on the court and find that cohesion and figure it out on their own.
There's a different urgency in college every year in the NBA. We just heard it with the Wolves. Well, it takes 20 games when you have a big trade to figure something out. Well, you play 30. So, you can't say, hey, after 20 games, and they're pros and all of that. It says, well, it takes a while for them to figure. And you see the Wolves got to the 20, 25 game mark. All of a sudden, they kind of understand what's going on. Should it have taken that long? Who knows? You don't have that same luxury, right? and oh, by the way, you're working with younger players who are jumping up a level. So it's got to be an interesting thing to work through.
Yeah, there's a lot of, I've had probably a decent amount of meetings this week, and it's been more of that of here's what I see. And I kind of compared it to the Miami Heat when they had the big three. They had struggled early. There was no cohesion. Guys were worried about whose team was it. You have three of the most dominant players. Who's going to take the last shot, or who's going to initiate offense, or who are we playing through? And they finally just had to sit down and said, all right, here's who it is. We're all good with it. We're all on the same page. Let's go from there. There's a little bit of that when you have new pieces, especially when you have college kids that, aren't used to being that alpha and just coming into a room and demanding. There's a realness to it where guys are sensitive about, well, how are they going to take it? I kind of know them, but I don't know them.
Right.
I'm getting to know them, getting to learn them. They've been here longer than me. I haven't played at this level. There's all of that. And these are young players. So just had discussions about, we've got to get over that in our own way. There's obviously a way to communicate and talk to guys generally. But that's going to be a big key. Can we find that cohesion now at that next level that impacts winning? And if there's not an agenda, or there's not, guys being sensitive, it's not about that. It's also not about, you're not dog cussing guys and calling people out their name. That's leadership though. And people, that was my point of after the game, is that is leadership. People hear leadership and they're always like, well, what does that mean? And I'm telling them, I will break it down for you. This is leadership. Figuring out how to make the pieces work. Figuring out how to gel and make your team perform at a high level to win a segment of practice or to win a scrimmage. That is leadership. How does that get done? And trying to work their way through that.
And playing the right way is contagious, I feel like. Once somebody does something, takes a charge, dives on the floor, hits a big shot, it's stupid that it's like that, but I feel like it is a real thing, right? So if you get a couple of guys doing it, all of a sudden everybody comes along.
It's the old adage, winners win. Yeah, you play against teams, and because they've won so much, that if some point is going to kick in, where the contagious of, all right, it's second half, it's winning time, we're going to make all the right plays. The 50-50 balls we get, right? The weird hustle play, tip out we get. We make the free throws. That is contagious, and it's a winning contagious. Like, all right, it's time to go. Now, we got to close now. We're trying to instill all of that. Some guys have won, some guys haven't. So you're trying to break all that in and give them confidence at the same time of, all right, this is what winners do. Winners huddle. As low-key as that sounds, we pointed out on film, like, you have good huddles, you have bad huddles. All right, now the second layer is when you huddle, what are you talking about? Right? Winners have something they're talking about. Teams that huddle just to huddle, you get nothing out of that. Well, now it's like, who are you fooling? Right? So now are the huddles important? Are we talking about, are we getting something out of it? Are we organized? And taking that ownership, that is what we worked on these 2 weeks. So I'm feeling a little bit better. But again, now there's got to be the carryover in game pressure. It's different. But you don't want guys to change what you've been training to do.
We're doing the show, as we always are now this year, from the conference room here at the Gopher basketball facility. So, Coach, you were pointing out, from here we can look down on the court, and there's this green countdown clock to that game on Saturday. So, as you prepare for that, and that's kind of been the focus, my hunch is this last week, as you talked about, there's been a lot of hard work, a lot of pushing things. Is there a point then, too, one, I bet it was nice not to have to worry about, do we need fresh legs? Do we got to dial it back a little bit? Maybe now you're getting back to that point, like, we got to be sure on the 21st these guys have legs. But how nice was that just to say, look, we don't have to worry about a game. We can push them through stuff. We can do things without, what about fresh legs?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was, I remember as an assistant, we all looked at things through a certain lens, and the lens that is important to us or pertains to us. And I just remember as an assistant, you're always, you're thinking about the assistant's lens, and you're seeing it through the assistant's lens, and, well, we should be doing why don't we do this and this and this? I would be doing this. And as the head coach, it's like, you still think those, but you also have to worry about big picture as the head coach. And every decision, there's something that comes along with that. But now for these 2 weeks, I haven't had to worry about that. And so that's why we've been able to go, a couple double days and be able to get major work in and compete for longer stretches, and compete harder and to really challenge our guys, which was what we needed. We played so many games early. You can't afford to do that. But this break allows us to do that, and I think our guys actually liked it. I think our guys enjoyed being able to compete, in majority of the practice for multiple segments. But you got to kind of get that shock. You got to get that jolt of kind of that hand-to-hand combat.
All right, let's take our first break here. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly. We want to invite you to visit the University of Minnesota bookstore. There you can discover the area's largest selection of U of M and Golden Gopher apparel and novelties for fans of all ages. From the latest fashions to traditional favorites, it's the University of Minnesota bookstore, your one-stop shop. You can visit online, bookstores.umn.edu, or in person on campus at the Memorial Union. And it's that time of year for holiday gifts. If you got some Gopher fans and friends in your family, you can certainly check it all out in person or online. Stay with us. We continue to talk Gopher basketball. It is Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.
Welcome to the Make It Jingle with Chris Kringle podcast. Today we're talking to Jan from Toyota, all about Toyotathon.
Hi.
So, Jan, got any red Tacomas?
Yeah, we have a great selection of vehicles, including Tacomas.
After my big job, I'm taking the missus down to Florida to go surfing.
Did you say Florida? Can the elves and I go too?
Dealer inventory may vary. Offers are subject to change throughout Toyotathon, which ends on January 6th. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Toyota, let's go places.
Do you know how plastic bottles become shirts, shoes, or backpacks? What happens when your recyclables leave your curb? Can they really become something new? Visit WM.com to learn how WM helps turn your plastic bottles into everyday products, giving materials a second life. WM has the recycling infrastructure, innovation, and expertise to serve our Twin Cities community and care for our planet. The recycling process starts and ends with you. Visit WM.com to learn more.
Kids, some days keeping up with them takes everything you've got. And in return, they give us everything they've got. At M Health Fairview Pediatrics, we've made it our life's work to care for kids. To do anything and everything we can for every kid who comes through our doors. Because the most important people in your world are our whole world. Learn more about a world of care just for kids at mhealthfairviewpeds.org.
Are you looking for concert or sports tickets? As a local Minnesota company, Ticket King is a company you can trust. They have seats to fit every budget and even offer parking or tailgating passes, and all tickets are guaranteed. Each order is personally attended to by one of our dedicated customer service representatives who are committed to providing you with a courteous, professional, quick, convenient experience. Visit us at TicketKingOnline.com or call us directly at 612-341-4131.
Hey, Gopher fans. Ready to show your true colors? The University of Minnesota Bookstores has everything you need to gear up for game day. From the latest maroon and gold apparel to exclusive Gopher merchandise, we've got your fan essentials covered. Visit us in-store at Coffin Memorial Union or shop online at bookstores.umn.edu. University of Minnesota Bookstores, your one-stop shop for all things Gopher pride. Sky U Ma.
You can guarantee yourself a Minnesota maroon and gold win when you sell your business with Sunbelt Business Advisors. Sunbelt is a local alumni-owned company and proud sponsor of Gopher Athletics. Sunbelt provides business owner brokerage services to small businesses as well as mergers and acquisition services for companies up to $150 million in revenue. Are you thinking about selling? Sunbelt can help you make the most from your life's work. Visit sunbeltminnesota.com for a free confidential value range. Minnesota's largest seller of companies. sunbeltminnesota.com.
How much can you save when you shop Cub? Let's just say you might need a bigger cart. We've lowered prices so you save more. On Essential every day, it's easy to see the savings. Across the aisles, from pantry products to frozen foods to delicious dairy and more. Your family will love it, guaranteed, or your money back. Shop Cub and save today. My Cub, my way. See store for details.
The University of Minnesota teams and traditions are legendary. Our team at Strategic Wealth Designers are proud to be a partner of Minnesota Athletics. What an honor to be working together. When you're ready to discuss your financial future, call the team, the Golden Gophers Trust. We look forward to creating your winning strategy for retirement. Visit us at swdgroup.com today and go Gophers.
This holiday season, don't forget to put you on your gift list too. Treat yourself to scratch games from the Minnesota Lottery. Minnesota Lottery. I'm in. Must be 18 or older to play. Please gift responsibly.
No matter who you are or what you do, there's a Ford vehicle that can help you own the day. Make life on the go a walk in the park with the new Ford Explorer. Become the MVP of the work site with the unrivaled performance of a new built Ford Tough F-Series truck, the best-selling trucks in America. Or discover what it really means to adventure in the great outdoors with a new Bronco Sport. Whether it's for work or play, there's a Ford with a great deal waiting at your local Northland Ford dealers. Don't wait. Get behind the wheel of a new Ford today. Based on calendar year total sales.
Welcome back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson, Mike Grimm, along with Justin Gard and the head coach are at the basketball facility and ready to continue to chat about Gopher basketball. So you mentioned the practice sessions were nice to have. You could not have to worry so much about getting ready for a game, a scouting report, or fresh legs, all that stuff. That said, during some of this time, these guys were going through finals and term papers and all that stuff, and maybe there's one more day for some. Some might be done already. So how do you mix that in as a head coach when you want to work these guys hard, but knowing that there's also some stuff going on off the court for them that they have to be pretty dialed in on as well?
Yeah, it's definitely a mix, and you got to be mindful of that, you know. So we do all of our stuff around our guys' schedules. You know, our staff does a really good job of forward thinking, and they give stuff in advance so you know who's got papers or who's has certain finals on what days, and we just maneuver around that. The good part is there's a lot has changed. Like very few teachers have it actually on the official finals week because they all want to be out of here. So I feel like they have it all early, and so it's really not like the old days where it was a true finals week. Yeah. Teachers assign stuff early, so guys are able to spend the time on basketball. And now I think we have almost like 3 weeks where they don't have anything, and so it'll be all basketball.
Is there some benefit in this? I know that they don't want you to schedule games during finals, which is fine, but knowing now how this schedule's played out, where you maybe have this week here, even if at some point they say a lot of this stuff's online, a lot of this stuff's different things, maybe we could schedule a game on a Saturday like this past Saturday and just play a game. Do you prefer maybe this is better to have a full 10 or 12 days between games during this time just to get work in at this point of the year?
It's been nice. This is the first time we've probably had this amount of days off, but it works, I think, both ways. You know, if you're banged up, it gives guys some time to, be able to rehab. If you're in a position where you need to work on your stuff, it gives you hours to do it. So there's a lot of flexibility that way. So I actually have kind of liked it. You're able to spend time with the guys too, which has been good. And so we've been able to use it, and I think it's been really productive. But it's something that we've already talked about as a staff. Like, all right, going forward, when you're building your schedule, do we want to keep it like this? And so we'll look at it and plan accordingly for sure.
And some guys probably have busy final schedules, and then other guys who have been in college for 8 years might not have quite the busy schedule. Parker Fox, for example. Last night he's hanging out with Joe Mauer and Vanilla Ice at the Vikings game. Did you see that?
I did not.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. He's hanging out with
like
Vanilla Ice.
In a box or something?
I think so, yeah. I'm like,
yeah.
How about?
So I got a Vanilla Ice story.
Yeah, can you tell it?
Yeah, I got a Vanilla Ice story.
All right, let's hear it.
What, Rip Van Winkle?
By the way, if Parker's listening, I didn't get you in trouble with the head coach. That was the voice of the Gophers.
Well, he's tweeting it out. It isn't like,
no, I know he was. I know he was.
I'm not letting any secrets. He can't
do anything without tweeting about it. Yeah,
that's true. That's true. But you know, he does have the schedule, because I did see some people like, maybe, hey, concentrate on basketball. I'm like, well,
yeah,
they don't play till Saturday. Like, what's he going to do? Come in and I suppose he could come in and shoot free throws during the Vikings
and it's
game.
It's good being Taylor Heisey's +1, by the way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good life.
Oh, was she in there? She was involved.
I don't know if she was there. She was at the
But
Wild
he's got a
game the
picture
other
of
night.
him and Vanilla Ice and him and Joe Mauer, and they're just in a suite or someplace.
Parker's old enough to remember Vanilla Ice.
Yeah,
That's the beauty
exactly.
of it. Yeah,
He bought his first album.
Yeah, he had the CD. He had the cassette tape.
Trivia, how old do you think Vanilla Ice is?
Well, I know. We looked it up. He's 57.
Yeah, I looked it up last night.
57.
Yeah.
57.
Think about that one. It's over for all of us, Coach.
Yeah. I was going to say 50.
Yeah, 57. So he was a lot older when he was doing Ice Ice Baby than we thought.
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't quite as young and hip back in the day. He's got a home improvement show now, a renovation show.
Yeah.
I just heard Quasito Femensa with Paul Allen before this say, who would have thought when we were growing up, Vanilla Ice would have a home improvement show and Snoop Dogg would be helping us raise our kids with like all the different stuff that Snoop's doing.
And at halftime, you'd have Vanilla Ice at the Vikings game.
So your story.
Fun. Yes, let's hear your Vanilla Ice story.
Oh, no. So I was actually on a flight from somewhere to Chicago. And I recognized, he had a hat on, and I recognized him right away. And I'm like, oh, man, that's, Rip Van Winkle. That's him. And we're sitting there on the flight, and so I'm like, okay, I need to figure out, you could tell the age gap, because there were definitely people around my age and older that knew immediately who he was.
Yeah.
And then there was the millennials that just walked by, like, had zero, like, not even, if you said, hey, that's Vanilla Ice, they wouldn't know, right?
Right.
And so we ended up kind of just casually talking briefly. And so he was, like, diagonally in front of me, and we get off the flight, and so we're taking a long walk towards Bags Claim and talking a little bit, but it was interesting to see. You could tell people as they were approaching him, within 10 feet, was like, oh, man. and then you could tell, they would make a big deal, and he would kind of give the nod or the quick, and then you could tell people literally just no idea. So we were kind of joking about just when you get to a certain stage, it is, kind of funny, the demographic of who you're relevant to.
Yep.
And, he was talking about as he's gotten older, you kind of, not that you're devalued, but it just becomes apparent, like, your fan base isn't kind of what you are, and there's people who want to stop you and take a picture and go crazy, and then the other side is the people have literally no idea, and if you broke down who, they still would have no idea. And it was just, it was kind of interesting to walk through the airport and just see visually the hit and miss on who knew him.
I thought there was I was at the game, I thought there was a good crowd response. The crowd seemed to enjoy Vanilla Ice.
Well, I think most people that are going to Vikings games,
he sang 2 or 3
are
songs
of that generation. Like the
for sure.
35 plus that. I mean, we're in the yearbook, man. We're and that's why he does halftime at Target Center, and we all go crazy. Like, I mean, you do that. You're older than us, Grimmer, but like he's basically on the casino circuit.
I'm not as old as Vanilla Ice, though.
Not quite.
Not quite. I'm getting there.
But
so I've got a Vanilla Ice story, which you're going to love. But continue.
Well, I got nothing now. You got to go.
So
you've taken the ball.
So last night was the second time I've seen Vanilla Ice in person. So like 3 years ago, he's playing, like you said, this is what reminded me just now, the casino tour.
He's casino circuit guy.
So
that's our age,
a few years ago, in my hometown, the county fair on Friday night, they get a decent kind of one of those casino acts where 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 people will show up, right? So, who's the guy from Sugar Ray? Mike McCormick or something like that? Yeah,
something like that. Yeah.
Him. By
the way, I like that Ben knows how long this story is going to be. He went right to the phone.
He's checking his text messages.
He's got work to do. He knows he's got time. That email, you need to send, you got time. That's cool. No, go ahead.
Yeah, keep doing your work. The listeners want this info.
Well, they definitely do.
So the guy from Sugar Ray and Vanilla Ice are doing the concert. And so they get done with the concert. And then at the county fair, the show's done at 10, but there's still the beer tent. They're trying to sell beer and make money for the fair board. And so they have a local band, like just some local band. So this guy walks in, and he's got the tattoos. He's in an NBA basketball jersey, and he's dressed up like Vanilla Ice. I know it's not Vanilla Ice, but most people in this small town think Vanilla Ice is now here. Watching he's at the county fair. He had played, but he's on his bus and he's heading to the next casino in Kansas or someplace. Yeah. He's probably headed to Prior Lake to play Lake Fest, right? Anyway, at least half the people think it really is Vanilla Ice. So all these people in small town Iowa, they're getting their pictures taken. And I keep telling my buddy, I'm like, that is not Vanilla Ice. He's like, I think it is. I think it is. I'm like, that is not.
Wait, hold on. Remind people where you're from.
This is a town called Manchester, Iowa.
What state?
Iowa.
The same people that thought it was a
fair catch. Yes, an actual fair catch.
Yep, it all makes sense.
They thought it was not a fair catch.
Yep,
yes.
that all checks out.
So everyone's getting their picture taken with this guy. So the night's about done. The beer tent's shutting down. People are headed home. So I can't resist. So I just meander over to Vanilla. And I'm like, hey, man, these people thought you were Vanilla Ice. He's like, it was great. It was great. I'm like, what? He's, I'm a big fan. I'm from Garnavillo. Just drove down for Garnavillo is a small town in Iowa. So this dude from Garnavillo, Iowa.
He was dressed up as Vanilla
He
Ice.
had the NBA jersey and he had like the rings. Had the necklace on. He was at the concert dressed up, like you go to a game, you wear a jersey. I guess you go to Vanilla Ice and you dress up like it.
That guy.
And then he comes in. And people legitimately are taking it. Anyway.
If you're a grown
See, that was well worth that story, wasn't it?
Did you get your email sent?
Yeah, that was sent. I actually ordered a couple things off Amazon. I really did.
Got your Christmas shopping done. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome to get that. Buy some time for the coach to do some Christmas shopping.
That's right.
Had to get it in, had to reply.
All right, we got to take a break.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. But I can't wait for the long contested two to come up. How do you top that?
I know. I don't know how I'm going to follow it.
It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield. Hey, Gopher fans, welcome back. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson. We want to remind you every week we give away a $25 gift card from the University of Minnesota bookstore. You can sign up and win. Go to the sign up and win page at gophersports.com. It's gophersports.com/U of M bookstores to enter, and each week we'll mail one gift card to one lucky winner. I don't know how you're going to top that. Vanilla Ice story.
It's a lot of pressure
from the Delaware County Fair. But go ahead here with your long contested two.
It's a lot of pressure. Well, there's two tracks I want to go down. The first one actually does kind of relate to what we were talking about last segment with age and hitting a point in your life that maybe you pause and go, wow, this is really where I am now. Vanilla Ice being 57 would be one of them. But you're at the age now where you're coaching players whose parents you played against. I'm thinking about like Luke High, for example, Lucas Olson Patterson, who we played against. Clearly, I was a high-level player, Grimmer.
Did you shut him down?
No, didn't have to guard him. The 5'9" kid didn't go in the lane much. That's where LOP used to live for Robbinsdale Cooper. Didn't go in there. But was that interesting when all of a sudden you're going about your career and going through? Because we even deal with that when we cover people. Like we covered Antoine Winfield Sr. for the Vikings, and then all of a sudden Junior rolls up, and you're like, man, I've been doing this a minute. But now you're coaching or recruiting players that you might know their dad because you played with them when you were 12, 13, 14. What's that like?
Yeah, it's different. The first reality check with that was with Jericho Sims.
Yeah.
So I'm recruiting Jericho Sims as an assistant coach here, and he was literally born during our state tournament run in high school. And so to be able to tell a kid like, dude, you were in a basket being carried to our state tournament run, and now I'm sitting here recruiting you as a young adult. That was probably the first, like, oh man, here, we're aging.
Yeah.
And I think now, it's more of when you're talking to parents, like there's a parent on our team right now that's, in my mind, I don't think like I'm an old guy.
Right.
But then I find out their age and I'm like, wait a minute. And it kind of messes you up. You're like,
yeah,
I'm definitely older than you.
Yeah.
And that processing that of like, man, now I'm the coach that's older than the parents of the,
right.
Because you don't always view yourself that way. At least I don't.
Right.
And so, I think that piece did take a little bit of adjusting of, these parents now are young. They're now younger than me. And, it's a little different.
Yeah, it takes a minute.
Yeah.
It does. You blew by that a long time ago.
I still have that happen every now and then, though.
Yeah. You blew that a long time ago.
Or the birthdays when you see the players' birthdays and you're like, oh my God.
Or you see like
all the stuff you don't know.
Like to buy lottery tickets or alcohol or whatever, and goes, you must be born after this date. And you're like, ooh, that's this century.
Yeah. Wow. If you hand somebody your license and they're like,
we're good. We're good. Yeah. Sometimes I'll do that. I'll go, you need it? And they're like, nope.
Yeah. Or they see the date and they're like,
yeah. I'm a basketball coach, man. I'm a basketball coach, sir. That's why I look like this. I've been a head coach for 4 years. What about just like now, like a lot of high school coaches in town, I'm sure you played, with when you were growing up, certainly AAU, same thing, like that are part of those programs. Like, is that, I'm sure that's a good thing. I'm sure that's a challenging thing at some point, like that you go way back with a lot of these people that, because you are from here, that you probably have dealt with for 30 years? I mean, we're probably going back 30 years now with some of these relationships.
Yeah. That part's probably not as different. That doesn't kind of, I guess, jolt me like the other stuff does. Those are just more like you have good stories. Like, when you're going into somebody's gym that you've known forever, or you've been recruiting their high school for a while, and now you can throw back the old stories, and you can tell the kid that might be playing for him, hey, me and your high school coach go all the way back to this point.
Right.
Or there's just more of a journey to talk about, which is kind of more, I guess, historical and cool from that standpoint, where it's just, you talk to Ken Novak and you're like, dude, I was a manager for the Washburn traveling team in '96 when you were still coaching at the same high school.
Yeah, right.
Watching you, and now I've been in your gym for 20 years and you're still doing it. It's different stories.
Do you have a story from like any of those gyms? Like if I said, Lindbergh Center, Royal Center, whatever they call it now, like, do you have a story of like a game or a player or a guy?
Oh, for sure. It could be a game. It could be a player. Honestly, it's probably, for me, a lot of practices.
Yeah.
Like, I think the one that's obvious with Hopkins is senior. Every time you go to practice, senior was always
Kenny
there.
Novak senior.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so, RIP to him. And so there's stories of like, every single time you're going to go there and you look forward to sitting down with senior and he'd tell you everything,
Yeah.
And you talk about, players and the team and, there's definitely that. And there's different stories like that in different gyms that you go to for sure. And, sometimes, you could walk into a gym and it could remind you of, way back from even when I was playing, like, hey, I remember I played here.
Yeah.
Back in.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Like I had a game or I had a moment. Like it's just because you had to have played almost everywhere.
Played in a lot.
When you think about it.
Yeah. Played in a lot. And there's definitely that where you walk into a gym and you're like, if it's remodeled, it's like, oh my God, like this was way different than when I played here, or what happened to this, or where's this at now, or that's gone. Oh man. It does kind of throw you back in time a little bit with that for sure.
Was there a place you'd like to play, like when you were in high school? Or like who were like the big De La Salle rivals back when you were playing? We're opening the yearbook today. Why not? Holiday season, we're getting reflective.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, it's funny. So one of them, Eric Bronow, who's now an assistant at Cretin, played at St. Agnes.
Yeah.
And when I was playing in the old Tri-Metro, that was a huge rivalry. So De La Salle St. Agnes was like, that was sold out.
Yep.
There or at our place. That was a huge rivalry game. And so we talked about that, like just, back in those days and the gym size and the people and the security that had to be there. I mean, that was one that, as far as just a rivalry game, we always got up for, especially being in conference. I think, anytime we could play Minneapolis North, we played them in a couple of jamborees. That was always a big one. Some of it was location, but obviously they had really good teams. So I remember, I think it was my senior year, we played them there and had a really good game. But I think that city rivalry, there's something to that. When we were able to play them, was always big. Same thing with Henry. That was a big one. Yeah, with Coach McKenzie was there. That was a huge rivalry game. So yeah, I mean those two probably stick out. Then there's always, we played Eden Prairie. At Eden Prairie one year, that was good. Played Cold Springs with Corey.
Yeah.
And drove up there.
Yep. Bob Brink, like 1 million wins up there. Yep.
Yeah, they that was an interesting place to play. Let's say that. I think that was the first time they were throwing like hot pennies at us in warm-up lines.
Hot pennies.
Kind of set the tone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like coins?
Yeah. It was like hot pennies. Kind of set the tone. And,
yeah. How do they make them hot?
I have no idea.
You want to know?
I'd be curious. Yeah.
I have no idea. But that was a good one. And Waconia, we played them. They were always good, so we played them in the playoffs. But yeah, I mean, we could go back.
Yeah.
we could go all the way back.
It's a podcast. It's definitely a podcast to do, going through. But that's the fun part. And like now it's funny to me that, you know, it used to be you had to get to the game. You had to go to the JV game, right? If you wanted to get tickets to all those, like you had to just basically park and post up and just go. Now you can buy tickets online like 6 months in advance if you need to.
Yeah.
Like it's just different. Because there's some about like you knew, like, and North and Henry are the perfect examples, right? I was probably at those games. I mean, that's how sick I was, you know, just to go watch those games with my dad. Like,
yeah.
But you had to like have a plan, man. Like we're going to watch those games. We got to get there early at Hopkins or teams would play at Concordia, same bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you had to plan. You couldn't just, you know, go online on Tuesday and get your 5 tickets and roll up.
Well, the JV guys loved it. And that was also when the fire code was in place. So the JV guys loved it because they would get a packed crowd for at least the second half of their game. You know, and so
so Guardsy knew about that.
No, I'm laughing. It's sophomore year against Minneapolis North. Huge crowd. Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
Sophomore year. Yeah, sure.
It's JV.
Junior, senior. Yeah, I'm sure.
My yearbook's in my car. I'll get it during the next break.
The cool thing is when you would drive, you know, when you would drive up to those games, like when we played, what was North or Henry at De La Salle or St. Agnes, I mean, you could always tell. So as a player, you're driving to Naked Island, and you could take a peek at that parking lot before you pull in. Yeah. And you could tell, like, if it was wrapped around to a certain spot, it's like, man, they're already packed in here, right? Or you see the line because the windows from the outside, you could see the line, and there was a line already kind of down the stairs. And during the JV game, you knew like it was gonna be live, and the fire marshal, all that stuff was real. Like they would literally like lock the doors, or they would, you know, one in, one out. People all on the baseline. The gym would be crazy hot. Perspiration would be everywhere. But those were obviously fun times.
We could blow through another break if we brought Dave Thorson down the hall.
Yeah,
he's got a few of those stories.
I'm sure he does.
He's got a few. His yearbook's open down there. Yeah. He could tell you the gyms and the games and the rivalries. But yeah, that's the fun part about it, though. I mean, it just really is. Like you ask football players, they say the same thing. Hockey players, same thing. Like the high school stuff, man, it's fun. There's nothing like it.
It feels like such a completely different era than now.
Yeah,
like it seems like a totally different world. You go to, and there's no knock against games now, but you go to a game now, everything just seems so different.
Yeah.
Like back then, everybody was into it because there was no cell phones.
Right.
You know, so like people were there to be there at the event, whatever event that was, and they were locked in to that event, and that was priority. And it was almost felt like more like kind of community engagement. It felt like everybody, whether it was teachers, whether it was faculty, whether it was just people that lived in the neighborhood, like they just seemed more involved. It seemed more of a kind of an emphasis maybe on high school sports, whatever sport that might have been. But yeah, you look back and it just totally feels like a different era and a different time.
We follow your Vanilla Ice story? Okay,
yeah, that was not too bad. I don't think it's as good as a Vanilla Ice story, but it was damn fine.
The one thing we do talk about a lot is it feels like, I don't know if you feel this way. I remember my freshman year, high school, like I remember looking at Marcus Travis, who was a senior. He was like a grown man.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore.
Yeah.
Like my freshman and sophomore years, like the dudes that were juniors and seniors were legit like grown men. And it's weird how like over time that has also changed. Like high school, I don't know.
Because we get older. That's why I think about that. The student section. I remember
so young.
The 97 student section when I was in 8th grade. Here at the barn, I'm like, God, those guys look so old. They're having so much fun. What a life. And now I get there, I'm like, damn, they're just pups.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean,
because we get older. Again, the theme of this is we're all getting older. Appreciate the time. Appreciate the time that we have. But no, you're right. They feel like giants when you're out there for the first time.
Well, I think, dudes were shaving.
Yeah.
Like regularly. That was it just seemed like you look, even through yearbook pictures, like, man, that guy looks like he's 23.
Yeah.
But that was pretty consistent.
Baseball players in the 80s all looked like they were 45 years old, didn't they, Grim?
Yeah.
They all had the mustaches and they all did the thing. I don't know.
But even like years ago, like, when you get in your 50-year-old people 30 years ago looked 80.
That's
now,
what I mean.
You look at pictures, right?
Wilford Brimley was 35 years old when he was doing those Quaker Oats commercials.
The Cocoon movie or whatever it was.
He looked like he was 80.
Exactly. And that's how we have to live now, is just that helps us deal with it. Yeah, cope. That's our coping mechanism. Yeah. All right, we have one segment of Gopher Basketball Weekly left, and I promise you don't want to miss it. It's coming up next, Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.
Ho-ho! Welcome to the Make It Jingle with Kris Kringle podcast. Today we're talking to Jan from Toyota, all about Toyotathon.
Hi!
So, Jan, got any red Tacomas?
Yeah, we have a great selection of vehicles, including Tacomas.
After my big job, I'm taking the missus down to Florida to go surfing.
Did you say Florida? Can the elves and I go too?
Dealer inventory may vary. Offers are subject to change throughout Toyotathon, which ends on January 6th. See your participating Toyota dealer for details. Toyota. Let's go places.
Midland Hills Country Club offers a wonderful setting for any of your upcoming holiday events. Our facilities and excellent food and service are sure to exceed your expectations. Let our professional staff guide you in making your event a memorable one. Come experience what Midland Hills has to offer. We're conveniently located in Roseville, just 10 minutes from either downtown area. Visit midlandhillscc.org.
You depend on CenterPoint Energy to deliver energy for what matters most. To you, your neighbors, and throughout the land of 10,000 lakes, so we can all make a better tomorrow. That's why we're investing in the latest technology to reduce emissions, offer rebates on qualifying energy-efficient natural gas equipment, and provide energy-saving programs that help save you money. Look ahead at centerpointenergy.com/futuremn.
With the Planet Fitness Black Card, you don't just get a great workout, you get a great perk out because your membership is packed with perks. For $1 down and $24.99 a month, you'll get perks like access to any of our 2,400 clean and spacious locations. Bring a friend anytime and both work out with tons of equipment that'll give you that big fitness energy. Relax in the Black Card spa and more. Work out and perk out with the PF Black Card. Join for just $1 down and $24.99 a month. See Home Club for details.
Certainly not off, though, for the coaching staff and the players, as there was lots of practice going on, as you heard early in the show. And it's Farley Dickinson on Saturday. It's a 1 o'clock game, 12:30. Al Nolan and I will take air from Williams Arena here on the Gopher Radio Network. And how much have you now started to turn your attention to game prep here as we talk on this Tuesday?
We got one more day today. We'll focus on us. And then we're off tomorrow, and then we start our normal 2.5-day prep on Thursday. So, our guys know a little bit about them because they got a player from here, and they've played a couple games on national TV. So our guys know a little bit about them, but we won't dive in and turn our full focus on those guys until Thursday.
How different is it this year when you have all these different teams that you're only playing a time or two, or a time? When it's preparation, like, would you prefer, obviously you can't do it, that you're going to play, everybody basically twice, or how does that whole thing work when you are working on preparing for different teams?
Yeah, no, I think I would like that. It makes things a little bit more even too.
Right.
Sometimes with scheduling, it is obviously uneven. So you hope the unevenness also evens out with your opponent and where you play them and who you get at home versus who you get on the road or who you get twice. I would love, to be able to, have a true round robin, but that's obviously probably not doable with the size of the league. So, you watch a lot of games now, and you hope that, the teams that you have twice, you're a little bit more familiar with them. But yeah, it just makes for a different landscape, and we're all obviously trying to figure that out.
How much more labor intensive, and maybe you're not sure yet until you go through it, might it be? Because in previous years you played 8 teams twice, where you'd play a Michigan State on a Tuesday in January, and then 2.5 weeks later you go up to their place, and the scouting report's going to be somewhat fresh. Where, think about this, you got a 20-game schedule, 17 of those games are one-offs, where it's a one-time scout where you haven't had a previous scout on them. So how much, maybe it won't be, but maybe it will be. I don't know. Have you thought about that?
It'll definitely be a challenge from the standpoint of, to your guys' point, teams aren't going to drastically change much within a conference year. And so you're going to know, all right, at least for this prep, it's a little bit less because we've played them already, and you can normally do that for a handful of teams. Whereas now, with all these one-offs, it's going to feel like every new prep is obviously a brand new one. And you got to find a way to get the information relayed to your guys that's enough, but not too much. You don't want their heads spinning, but enough to cover what they're doing. And then it's like, boom, quick turnaround. Now, whole new team that you guys, don't know about, especially when I got a bunch of new players. So that'll be a unique deal. You can't, fall back on a handful of previous games, or you can't say, all right, we played these guys not long ago. Here's a refresher. Right. And guys know it. It's going to be all new concepts and schemes and obviously players and coaches.
And 4 new teams, period, right? Where at least with some of these guys, Mike Woodson's been around, Tom Izzo's been around, Matt Painter's been around. There's some general styles, but you've got 4 new teams that get thrown in the mix that you haven't seen.
Yeah, no, definitely. That definitely adds a wrinkle to it for sure.
And with new players on a lot of the teams that you do know, right? Like, there's some guys that have been around. Like, obviously, Wisconsin's got some guys you all remember. Iowa's got some guys you all remember. Gophers have guys you all remember. But even the personnel doesn't necessarily carry over like it did back in your day, for example.
No, not at all. I mean, you could literally not long ago go through a roster and you could name, their top 6, 7 guys.
Yeah.
Now I gotta look at them. Yeah. No, but I mean, even for me who follows it closely, I still have to. All right, give me the roster. All right, he's from there. Okay, that's right. He's from there. Okay, yeah, he's from there. You need those reminders all the time. But it's from that personnel standpoint, it is definitely different when you're trying to figure out, teams and who's where and all that.
And you can get guys that have played for multiple Big Ten schools. Yeah. Like we deal with that on the women's side all the time. Yeah. It's like we watched her at Rutgers last year. Yeah. She's at Ohio State now.
There'll be more of that.
Yeah.
There will be more of that.
No doubt. All right, well, very good. We will chat with you on Saturday.
Sounds good.
All right, it's the Gophers and Farley Dickinson. Saturday, 1 o'clock, 12:30 is the airtime. Guardsy has basketball Friday night with the Gopher women as well at the Barns. So we thank you for listening today. It's Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson from Learfield.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
All right, son. Time to put out this campfire.
Dad, we learned about this in school.
Oh, did you now? Okay. What's first?
Smokey Bear said to.
First drown it with a bucket of water, then stir it with a shovel.
Wow, you sound just like him.
Then he said.
If it's still warm, then do it again.
Where can I learn all this?
It's all on SmokeyBear.com with other wildfire prevention tips, because only you can prevent wildfires.
Brought to you by the USDA Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council.
On the Gopher Sports Network from Learfield, this has been Gopher Basketball Weekly with Ben Johnson. The preceding has been a Learfield presentation on the Gopher Sports Network.